The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today on Aging Horizons we're going to be talking about housing and livable communities. You know, AARP, one of our great guests that join us often, has a project of livable communities that we're going to be talking about today. We have a great guest with us who is going to tell us all about how important these things are and what they can do for you in the future. So stay with us.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992 and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
Sometimes the difference between having the life-saving medications you need and going without is the premium on your Medicare drug insurance. If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you may be eligible to receive help with your premiums, even if you own your home or other assets or think you may have too much income. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out if you qualify.
There you go, ma'am. See you next month.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful day. There was about 2 square feet of ice near the door, which I slid on and fell, cracking one ribbon. And it became somewhat frightening for me to walk outside, particularly in the winter. The Stepping On program came as kind of a surprise to me. I didn't know about it. I've learned the importance of proper balance. I think anybody who has fallen or is afraid of falling would benefit from this program.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
Hello everyone and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimi Everman, and as I said, we're going to be talking about places to live today. We have a great guest with us. We have Danielle Aragoni. Welcome, Danielle. And Danielle, you're the Director of Livable Communities for AARP.
I am.
Okay. Before we kind of get into what a livable community is, let's just talk a little bit about your background and what brought you to work with AARP with these livable communities.
Sure. Well, I've been working at the federal government level for many years, about 2 decades, working in the Environmental Protection Agency and then later in the Housing and Urban Development Department. Always kind of at that intersection between housing and transportation and places, really with a recognition that the kinds of communities that we live in are just so important to not only our well-being, but to our economy, to our mental health, to our environment, everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I sort of first got interested in the issue, frankly, from an urban planning perspective. I had grown up on a small cattle ranch in California. My family comes from a ranching background, and actually, I think back to that sort of moment where I realized how we use our land, why it really matters was when we were forced to sell our ranch because of encroaching development from suburban sprawl. So it it brings really close to home. It really does in terms of how we build our communities. Makes a huge difference at so many different levels.
So in terms of what you're doing with AARP, talk to us about what a livable community would be.
Yeah, sure. So really a livable community is a place where people can, in very short narrative, it's a place where someone can live their best life at every age. AARP has been at this work, one could argue, since our inception.
Inception, yes, indeed.
Our founder is a woman named Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, and she first founded AARP when she discovered a former colleague of hers. She'd been a principal and a teacher in California. She discovered a colleague of hers living in a chicken coop in the back of someone's home because she was unable to afford adequate housing after having paid for health expenses. And that's a challenge I think that a lot of families face still. And that's what really brings AARP to the point where we realize that we can't help people to live their best lives at every age if we aren't paying attention to the kinds of communities that we live in. So for us, a livable community looks different in every place.
Sure.
I mean, there's no sort of standard example, no set picture of what it needs to look like, but it should be a place that offers really a range of different housing options where people can afford, they can choose to live where they can afford, they can choose and find an accessible home if they need an accessible home. It should also be a place where there's a range of transportation choices so that for that day when people can no longer drive.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they are then isolated. We want them to have other ways to get around, to be involved in their community, to get their shopping done, to see friends and the like. And it means a place where there's a very active sort of civic world. So whether that's a physical space like a park or whether that's volunteer opportunities, a livable community is a place where all those things come together and people are really finding what they need at every age and stage of life. We're certainly not interested only in creating communities for 50 plus or 65 plus.
Right.
We know that when you offer options in terms of housing, offer options in terms of transportation, offer options in terms of public spaces, that doesn't just benefit one age group. It really creates a richer and more diverse and thriving community for everyone.
Right, and I know that there's been some demographic shifts that our communities are facing that are making them very livable.
Yeah.
Would that be true?
Absolutely. I think one of the big wake-up moments for a lot of communities is when they hear that the U.S. Census recently predicted that in 2035 we'll be comprised more of people 65 and above than we will be of children 18 and below. And that's the first time that will have happened in our country's history. So really we're kind of at this demographic tipping point. When you stop and look at the kinds of communities that we're creating, we're not necessarily making the best decisions that we can be always with that future in mind. So we think of this demographic shift that's underway as a huge opportunity.
Sure.
It's a great chance to sort of rethink some of the housing options that we make available in communities, transportation choices and the like. And from the AARP's perspective, we are here to support communities however they want to get involved in this work. And once again, it's going to look different in every place. In a rural community, some of the choices that they might make and some of the demographic challenges that they face will be different than in urban places. But uniformly across the board, having the perspective of the needs of older adults in mind, we know can lead to better decisions and better communities for all.
And I know that, you have a membership that you call on for feedback quite often. What are they looking for?
Yeah, we actually did a survey last year to ask that exact question. And in fact, this year we've done the survey in the past. It's called the Home and Community Preferences Survey. And previously we've asked just 15 above what they want. But this year we went down to 18 and above to really be able to look at the whole range of adults and what the needs are that they express. And what we found, interestingly, was that there actually is quite a lot of alignment between what boomers and millennials want. So it's not it's not really an either or choice, as I think many communities often think that it is. But one thing that we heard loud and clear, which really reaffirmed our notions, was that people want to be able to age in place. They want to be able to live in their same home or their same community as they age. And that desire grows as we get older, as might be expected. About 3/4 of all adults want to be able to age in their same home, in their same community. But that goes up to closer to 90% for 65 and above. But again, we're really thinking about, are we creating the kinds of homes where people can age gracefully in place?
Yes.
Are we creating the kinds of communities where people can find other options if they need to move out of their home or move out of their cars? So there's actually a lot of opportunities that are sort of tucked into that survey that we've been exploring.
Exactly. I mean, it's sounding to me like a real positive situation, even though maybe we're not ready. We know we're knowing to start to move in the right direction.
Yeah, and ask the right questions.
And the ask.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, folks, we're going to talk a whole lot more about this topic. We don't want you to miss a single word, so stay right where you're at. Don't turn that dial. We'll be seeing you soon.
was outside working on some equipment, nothing too strenuous. I started sweating and feeling out of breath.
When he felt pressure in his chest and aching in his arms, I knew we had to call 911.
First responders were there before we knew it. 38 minutes later, the doctors had restored the blood flow to my heart.
Now we know dialing 911 saved his life.
Your life is on the line.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
I take care of my wife at home. When I found out training was available, I said, sign me up. It's made a huge difference.
When my husband was injured at work, it was life-altering. The classes taught me that it's okay to grieve, to ask for help, and to better cope as a caregiver.
My dad lives 4 hours away, and the Powerful Tools classes taught me that it's okay to ask for help. I highly recommend them.
To find out about this course for caregivers, go to powerfultoolsforcaregivers.org.
It's amazing the difference a little training can make.
Out here, we love our animals, from the wildlife to the livestock. Inside, it's the same. They're just like family. We keep them happy and healthy, most of the time. Secondhand smoke puts pets at risk for cancer, feline lymphoma, vomiting, increases the risk of tumors and lung cancer, even causes eye and skin disease. Secondhand smoke puts your pet's life at risk.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking with Danielle from AARP today about livable communities. Now, one of the things that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet is just what are some of the ways that AARP actually supports these livable communities or communities in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people know AARP for our wonderful advocacy work.
Exactly.
And I think we're very much associated with issues that are central to older adults' needs. And people are often surprised to find out that we provide support in the livable communities arena as well. There's a few different ways in which we do that. One of which is something called our Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities. And this is a program that's been going for several years now, probably 6 or 7 years. And what it is it's a way for a community, local leaders, to sort of raise their hand and say that we commit to an age-friendly future. That can happen in a small community, it can happen in large communities. We even have whole states that have sort of signed on to this network. And what that means is that that state or that community is really committing to be thoughtful and intentional about the needs of older adults in their planning. We have about 350 communities currently that are in the network.
Oh,
and
wow.
again, in just about every state. Some states have, several dozen, some states have one. It's all, it really is a range and depends on what the states need. But for the community, what that means is it sort of maps them through a 3-stage process. Usually the first year or two, they commit to listening, really asking people in their community, what is it that we need? What is it that you need? How can we create a future for you in this community that supports your needs better? So that survey process takes the first year or so, and out of that then they develop an action plan. And the action plan is really the roadmap then for the last 3 years of the program, which is about implementation. So you might wonder, well, what is it that they're working on? What is it that they're tackling? It's rested on this foundation called the 8 domains of livability. And those 8 domains are some of the things we talked about at the top. So it's housing, it's transportation, public spaces, but it's also things like communication and information. How are older adults getting their information and how could that be improved? It's things like respect and social inclusion. Are we creating ways for people to feel respected? Are there opportunities for communities to enhance that intergenerational work together so that people really see themselves in that community as part of a community, being a respected and valued member of it? So that network has been a wonderful jumping off point, I think, for communities. They've taken those 8 domains and tackle them in very different ways. So some communities will use an opportunity to look at the economic aspect of their community, and, for example, build out an age-friendly business program.
Sure.
Where you might go around and survey businesses. How supportive are you or attentive are you to the needs of older adults, and are there things that we could improve to that end? So the range of actions that communities can take under this network of age-friendly states and communities is really quite varied. Another thing that's really, I think, remarkable about it is that it's very much a community-driven effort. I mean, this really rests on the shoulders of community members who are engaged, who are committed.
Well, who are living there, who want to make sure that it's right for them and their family and friends.
Absolutely. So volunteers are very much key to that effort in a lot of places across the country.
Sure.
But what we see too is that it really is a way of augmenting some of the work that communities have to do anyway. There are already efforts underway to plan for the future or to think about where we're going to invest our infrastructure dollars or transportation enhancements. But how do you do that with an eye to, are we really moving towards a more age-friendly future? That's what that network allows communities to do.
Right. And what a great way to get people to start getting on board, whether, as you said, it's dozens of communities in the state or just one. One step forward is that first step of 1,000 miles.
Absolutely. And I think what's equally important is just frankly, the commitment that the community makes that says we value being age-friendly. We value working towards that end objective. I mean, I think just having that focus is as important as anything else.
Right. And then you also had a small grant program that I know has finished at this point, but it sounds like it was a pretty great sort of program for folks.
It's been a really successful program so far. So, once communities enroll in this network, often they're sort of confronted with, well, what do we do now? And to that end, the grant program is one of the ways in which we support them. The program is called the Community Challenge Grant Program. There have actually been a couple grants here in Montana.
Oh, great.
One in Missoula and one in Bozeman, if I'm not mistaken. And what those do is, it's small grants that can help communities demonstrate a new project, make an investment in a place that sort of demonstrates some of the age-friendly aspirations that they may have. So, for example, in Missoula, the project was the RX Trails project, where the city of Missoula decided that in order to enhance the health of our residents, one of the 8 domains, that we really need to create more safe walking trails for people, and to be able to connect the availability of trails with, frankly, the prescriptions that the medical professionals are often writing for, get more physical activity.
Exactly.
So here we're connecting those dots. That's a clear commitment towards a more age-friendly future.
Wow.
But the Challenge Grant Program at this point will have awarded about 300 grants around the country. And they're really important, sort of interesting ways for communities to demonstrate new ideas, whether it's in housing or transportation, parks, placemaking, things like that.
Well, and a way to get involved with that commitment and the inspiration, the motivation to go forward and try to find some good solutions to maybe situations that aren't that hard to fix if you just put your mind to it.
And oftentimes it's sort of proving the concept, right? So it's demonstrating something that can be done fairly quickly that we hope spurs replication across the country, across the state.
Yeah, exactly. Well, folks, these are just a few of the things or ways that this has been supported by AARP's Livable Communities. Maybe that's something that you want to see started in your own community. And maybe that's something that you think would be a really important thing to put into play into your own city. What you want to do is stay with us. We're going to have some more information, we're going to have some more resources, and we're going to tell you all about this great thing called Livable Communities. So please stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Summer in Montana is a great time to visit your local farmer's market. Enjoy the social atmosphere while shopping for a wide variety of fresh, locally grown produce. Together with both WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs, you help feed your family 5 or more daily servings of fruits and vegetables for better health. You also help local ag producers and enhance the state's economy. So, for summer fun that's nutritious and helps Montana's economy, shop at your local farmers market.
I had a pain in my back.
I just didn't feel right.
I was short of breath. A pain in my jaw.
I didn't have any pain.
Just pressure in my chest. I didn't know it.
I was having a heart attack.
A heart attack. I could have died.
Know these warning signs and call 911 immediately. Most heart attacks start slowly and are not always intense with the typical chest pain. New medications and treatments can prevent disability and save your life.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Hi folks, welcome back. We're talking about livable communities today. And Danielle, we were talking about some grant projects that happened in Montana, but we need to correct just one thing.
We do. It was Browning instead of Bozeman. My apologies.
Okay.
And that was a park enhancement project. So yes, I didn't want to shortchange Browning's leader.
And I have to say, no shade on Bozeman, but it's even greater that it's Browning, because that's one of our really small rural areas. That's great that it went there.
Well, and I should say there will be at least a couple new awardees as of the time of this taping. So check out our website for the most recent awardees in Montana.
Well, and now let's talk about some of the publications that we think are important to go along with this, Danielle.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ways, again, that we support communities to do livable communities work is getting information and tools into the hands of people who are doing this. So whether you're a citizen advocate or whether you're just an interested sort of bystander, if you will, or whether you're a local leader, we have a tool for you. All of them are posted to our website, which is aarp.org/livable. And what we try to do there is really harvest ideas from around the country and showcase them in a way that, again, drives some creativity, drives some replication. So one of our documents is called Where We Live. We do this usually every year, and it includes examples from around the country of really innovative projects that are happening at the local level that work to create a more livable and age-friendly future. But we also have a couple more sort of tactical documents that people can pick up. They're worksheet sort of based documents. We have a whole series called Roadmap to Livability. This is a 6-part series. And if you want to dig deep on housing, we got a book for you on that. If you want to dig deep on community health, we've got a roadmap book on that. And what that does is it really orients people to some of the issues that are around in that topic, and then it really suggests ways that you can get involved, get partners from around your community
that was going to be
a part of it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is, what if you want to get something like this started in your community?
Yeah, I would say the Roadmap to Livability series is a great place to start. We also have 2 other books that are often very interesting places for people to start. So one is called a Walk Audit Toolkit.
Okay.
So it's a download that you can get. It's a print publication you can get for free, and allows you to walk around your neighborhood and just do a little audit. Are there sidewalks that are there? If they are there, are there gaps? Are there broken areas? What are the streetlight crossings like? Is it long enough to get across the street safely and easily? So it gives you kind of a checklist of things to look for in your community, how pedestrian friendly it is.
Super.
And then out of that, you have some ideas to bring to your local officials in terms of how you can make it more age friendly.
Well, and I can see that would be one of those things for myself anyway, where I might not think of some of those things until I had a document in front of me where that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
If I'm trying to plan where I want to be when perhaps my mobility is not going to be the same as it is now, that's the perfect thing to ask.
Absolutely.
Are there curb cuts? Are there good sidewalks? Things like that.
Exactly.
Great idea.
We kind of take it for granted that all that infrastructure is there, but the reality is that it can be improved.
Right.
And oftentimes, something like a signal crossing, making that light a little bit longer for pedestrians, that's not an expensive fix. Or maybe painting a crosswalk that's safer so that you really draw drivers' attention to the fact that pedestrians walk here.
Exactly.
Those are really kind of small fixes that can go a long way to make a community more pedestrian friendly.
And small ways to make a huge impact.
Absolutely.
With your own commitment to a situation like that.
Yeah.
Now, you also talked about a newsletter.
We do. So we have a weekly newsletter that comes out. It's free. It's chock full of great information. Again, it sort of pulls examples from around the country. So I'd encourage people to go to our website and sign up for that. It comes out every Wednesday. I read it every week, and I always learn something new. Yeah, I really recommend it.
Examples around the country. What are a couple of those?
One of the things that this network of age-friendly states and communities has done is really demonstrate for me that there's so much creativity at the local level. And things that I never would have thought of that are critical to make places more age-friendly, they end up bubbling up. So in Maine, for example, one of the age-friendly communities there decided that one of the barriers for older adults to remain in place was that they needed sand buckets to be delivered to their homes so that they could more safely walk through the community and access resources. In Augusta, Georgia, they took another publication that we have developed called Creating Great Public Spaces and Parks, and they evaluated every one of their city parks to see how age-friendly they are.
Oh, wow.
And then they've prioritized their parks based on which ones need more investment or enhancement to really become those intergenerational places that they aspire to be. In Colorado, for example, they noticed that a lot of redevelopment that was happening was beginning to threaten some of the mobile home parks that older adults in particular really rely upon as a secure form of affordable housing.
That's right.
But because of redevelopment pressures, those mobile home parks had become threatened and were beginning to flip really quickly. So in Colorado, they realized that they need to put some protections in place and do a little bit of a moratorium so that they could evaluate how do we secure these affordable home solutions that particularly are of value to older adults and yet create space for redevelopment going forward.
And be proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly.
Which we know in so many parts of life is the way that it's going to work out the best, is if you're proactive and not reactive.
We all know that we're aging, we're planning for our individual futures. This is a community's chance to plan for their future as well.
Yeah. You know, this sounds like such a great project, and I know it's almost a way of life. It's not a project, it's a way of life. What do you think is some of the best parts of this for you, Danielle? What do you like the best about it?
You know, I really love the idea of people sort of, to your point, opening their eyes and realizing that the place where we live and the way that we move through our space every day is so driven by some of the smaller things that really go unnoticed, and that we have the potential to affect change in those. I think we take it for granted that a place that looks this way has always looked this way and can't be any better, can't be made differently. I think we assume that we've always built houses in this one way, and therefore if there's a different way of doing it, that's not possible. But through this work, we have seen that a diverse array of people coming to the same conclusion can really drive very significant change in ways that make life better, not just for older adults.
And we really need that housing squared away so that everybody has housing security. We want everybody to have a good, safe, clean place to live.
Absolutely.
So glad to have you with us, Danielle. Thank you so much for explaining about the livable communities. I think they sound awesome, and I just am so glad that AARP is working on such a great project for our communities. And folks, it's a great project. Look into it. Go on the website. Look at some of those publications. We'll see you next time on Aging Horizons.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.